Okay, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance and have a moment of silence, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First, I want to say welcome to everyone that came. As full as it was. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, we have public comments, and we do not have any. Correspondence to the board. We do not have any of those, but we do have recognitions.
We do have recognitions, and I think Mr. Coron stepped out. Oh, he's back, so here he is. Thank you. Sorry, important duty. Tonight we would like to honor our mentors, and if you guys don't know, the mentor program obviously is a huge part of our Character Rocks program as well, and just what they do for our most needy kids. We are truly appreciative of the sacrifice that they make, and just the example that they are to these students each and every day. So we're going to call out their names. I don't see a lot of them here, but we do want to recognize them and honor them tonight for their service. And if I mispronounce your name, I'm sorry. My name's pretty hard to pronounce too at the end. So, but Nehemiah Bostic, Siren Bryant, Eula Burton, Austin Carter, Anna Marie Duke, Paige Gibson, Jordan Harris, Dan Hatch, James Lee, Allison Navarez, Michael Sieber, Leandra Torella, Maggie Benzio, Brian Windling, and Joy Wesley. If you guys could come up front, we truly appreciate you, and we would love to honor you at this time.
On our way to basketball.
We're going to do it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Henry, thank you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, our community.
Always good to see you.
Thank you.
You guys want to come step right forward? Or you know,
Yeah. I tell you what, let's grab our two base liaisons. If you guys want to jump in, we got started right on time and move through quickly.
Oh, no,
You
we
came
don't
last week,
well,
let's go
yeah.
now.
We got plenty of room in this photo.
No, I work at high school.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much for everything that you do for our community and kids. Next up is Whiteman report.
Well, I'm back again, so,
We're glad to have you
no, thank you. You
again.
say that every time. It makes me feel good.
I don't say that every time.
Any rate, well, a little bit to report, of course. We got through the holidays, got through the nice winter storm we just had. Of course, we did release early Monday. Great communication between the school district. That works very well. We need to know what you're doing. You keep that up. Right now, the only thing, of course, we're starting out a new year. It's going to be just as busy as every year. It does not slow down right now. It's coming out long. So try to what we do and
Well, thank you for all you do. Keep us safe. The principal and director's reports are on there that you should have looked at. If you have any questions about them, now would be the time to ask. MSBA report.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of January. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with an update on appointments to the State Board of Education and the search for a new Commissioner of Education. On January 3rd, the first day of the legislative session, Governor Greitens withdrew and then reappointed the 5 members of the State Board of Education who voted in December to fire Dr. Margie Van Dieven as Commissioner of Education. Because the 5 were reappointed after the Missouri Senate convened for its 2018 session, the Senate now has until the end of the session in May, rather than only 30 days, to confirm those appointments. But in the meantime, those 5 cannot serve on State Board, leaving the board without a quorum to conduct official business. Senators from both parties have expressed concerns about the appointment process used by Governor Greitens, and there appears to be significant opposition to confirming the 5 appointees to the State Board of Education. Right now, it's not clear when or if the Senate committee that deals with appointments will hold hearings on the confirmation of those appointees. Meanwhile, the 3 current members of the State Board of Education held a public hearing on January 8th to hear comments on the search for a new Commissioner of Education. One of those who testified was MSBA President Jan Meese, who said the Commissioner of Education must possess qualities that instill in others the desire to do their best for all kids and to set the course for public education in our state.
The qualities associated with the job posting outline a variety of skills. However, high-level leadership is not necessarily a checklist. The role of the Commissioner of Education demands more. It is not about a personal agenda. It is not about preconceived notions of public education. It is about open-mindedness. It is about establishing a collaborative environment within the department, which trickles down to our school districts. It is about establishing a framework to ensure student success. It is about listening to all voices. It is about ethics, attitude, loyalty, and sound judgment. It's about being a champion for the public schools of Missouri that are committed to serving every child who comes to our doors. It is about recognizing the power and the potential of public education and delivering to the citizens of Missouri a product that will shape the future of our state and nation.
The application window for the Commissioner of Education position opened on December 15th and closed on January 8th. Only 10 individuals have applied for the job. State Board of Education President Charlie Shields said at the conclusion of the public hearing, the search process for a new commissioner cannot move forward until the State Board of Education has a quorum. The 2018 session of the Missouri General Assembly is underway, and numerous education issues will once again be on the agenda for lawmakers, not the least of which is state funding for K-12 education. It will take a $98 million increase in the foundation formula to fully fund the basic state aid program for schools. $48 million of that would go toward new early childhood education funding triggered by the fully funded formula. MSBA Associate Executive Director for Advocacy, Mike Reed, says the budget will be challenging once again this year.
There's going to be a lot of demands in the budget. A number of places are going to be asking for increases in money, plus the fact that halfway through this year, this fiscal year, we have a tax decrease coming in. So there's a real question on how much funds will be available for the chairman of the House Budget Committee and the Senate Budget Committee to work with. There'll be a lot more demands than we have appropriations available. And so that's going to be really, really big topic for much of the year. Where's the money going to come from and how are we going to split it up?
Governor Brighton and legislative leaders are estimating revenue growth of only 2.5% for the fiscal year beginning July 1st. They also cut the projected revenue growth for the current fiscal year to only 1.9%, down from the original estimate of 3.8%. Governor Brighton and some legislators are proposing additional state tax cuts that would reduce state revenue even more and threaten funding available for public education. Other issues likely to be considered once again in the General Assembly are expansion of charter schools throughout the state and voucher schemes such as education savings accounts that funnel public money to private schools that are not accountable to the public. MSBA will keep you informed about legislative developments during the session through our weekly Legislative Voice newsletter, periodic webinars during the session, our daily updates on Twitter, and through critical issue alerts. And be sure to mark your calendar for the MSBA Legislative Forum, Public Schools Day at the Capitol, scheduled for February 13th in Jefferson City. You can register for that event through the MSBA website. School board members throughout the state will be recognized for their work during School Board Recognition Week, January 21st through 27th. For communities to honor local school board members who provide leadership to our local school districts throughout the state. Check the MSBA website for resources related to School Board Recognition Week. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
Very informative report. Next up is superintendent report.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for those in the audience who've taken time on this cold evening to join us at our board meeting. We appreciate it. Ms. Munley, good to see you, ma'am. Happy New Year. I want to start out with the fun stuff. We just want to take a few moments to thank Board of Education for all that you do for our students, for our community, for our employees, just the direction that you guys set for our school district. Last meeting we talked about kind of the year in review And I want to let you know, I kind of relayed that to our teachers on our back to school meeting, but it truly is important work that you do, and the leadership and governance that you provide is allowing our district to do some incredible things for kids. So thank you for all you do. We do have a small token of appreciation for each of you in front here tonight. It's a Knob Nostra cooler, and it's full of, was it puppies or kittens? I can't remember
Oh,
for each of you, but
it better be kittens.
kittens, okay. It's, as well as our softball and baseball team and wrestling team and football team and robotics team and all of the other teams, soccer, tennis, you name it. We just thought these might come in handy as you guys are out supporting our Panthers and our students. So you guys enjoy that. Again, it's a small token of appreciation. We appreciate all you do, so thank you.
Thank you very much for those.
You're welcome. And I want to thank Miss Tina and Miss Katie for all their help in getting those sorted and organized for you guys. So they do a good job with that. We also have one for, I don't remember the language, but we're presenting that in the most appropriate above board manner to the wing. So that is our intent, and it's presented in that fashion. So there you go, and I hope that language was acceptable for the folks out there. We do appreciate it, and since you are sitting in for Colonel Gooding, I'm guessing that goes home to your office and your team, because never mind, I'll leave that alone. All right, moving right along. Thank you for all you do. As far as the MSBA report follow-up, a couple of things I would touch on. The board currently, again, has only 3 members on the board, so they have effectively, with the withdrawal and reappointment during session, the big difference is when those members were appointed outside of session, they had voting rights. Now that as soon as the session came in on the first day, the governor withdrew those appointees again, reappointed them inside the session, and that did 2 things. It allowed more time for the Senate to take action, but it also rendered those 5 board members not approved to basically make a vote. So it's a very interesting situation. In order to, as we understand it, in order to move forward with any votes, especially in regard to hiring the commissioner, it would take a majority of the whole board, which would be 5 members voting in affirmation of that vote. So we're watching that play out, and with current state of affairs, education wasn't mentioned at all during the State of the State address. We probably all know that there was a big announcement after that. So we're just kind of sitting and watching how that plays out. But it may end up being a saving factor as far as the educational initiatives that are on the table. One of those is there was mention of the movement for vouchers and the educational savings accounts. You guys kind of know our position on that. I have gone ahead and partnered with NAFIS, and we've done an op-ed release locally that Warrensburg and Sedalia, I think Knob Nostra picked up. And that's also going to be printed in a national outlet in March. So that's going to essentially speak out against any effort to transform Impact Aid into a voucher program. One thing that I want to definitely stress with the board is Impact Aid, even though it follows students and it supports students, the mission of the Impact Aid program is to replace local tax dollars that have been lost due to the impact of federal lands, Indian lands, military bases. So it's by its very nature, since 1950, Impact Aid has been designed to supplement the local tax dollars for the local school district that's impacted. So that's an important concept to keep in mind. If open enrollment were to come forward, there would essentially require a major overhaul of the Impact Aid program to allow those dollars to truly follow those students wherever. So more to come on that, but just wanted to let you know that point. Also mentioned was the budget forecast for next year. Certainly, we want to be fiscally responsible as we move forward, and the board has been very gracious over the last couple of years to approve budgets which provide support for new programming and expanded programming and a lot of good things for kids, whether it's soccer, robotics, AP, or the host of other initiatives that we've implemented. That being said, we have started taking looks at opportunities where we could look to decrease our expenditures if the board so wishes to do that. I don't think that it's going to be a drastic move to need to do that, but we certainly want to look at those programs and keep in mind what is the return on that investment. So we don't really don't want to overstate that, but certainly it's something that as we continue to see the estimates for next year roll out, we may want to consider looking at options where we could do that. As far as 2018, it's off to a great start. I do want to give one note of appreciation to Ms. Davis for your time. I know before the break you walked through every building and visited many classrooms and teachers and support staff, and just wanted to say thank you for doing that. And then the first day back during our PD day, you came in and spoke to our team as well, and I know they appreciated that. So I don't know if you really want to see people or you're watching that from me, but thank you. You're welcome anytime, as is any other member of the board, and even our candidates. As we head into the election, you're welcome in the schools at any time. We did mention during the Whiteman report, we dismissed early on Wednesday. We also were out, excuse me, what day was that? Monday. Today is Wednesday. Dismissed early. That was Thursday. Days running together. We missed one day. We were able to count that day. We got our full credit in. We did miss one day, so that will result in us attending school on President's Day, and our community has been notified in various outlets. One thing that isn't in the report that I definitely want to mention, I talked today with Greg Franken, who is the immediate past president of the Base Community Council, traveling with our local representatives to the Air Force Global Strike leadership meeting, and he has requested information and intends to highlight Knob School District and our partnership with the base as one of his key points for stressing our military readiness. So I don't want to understate that and don't want to overstate it, but it's certainly our goal in all that we've been doing is to strengthen that relationship and position our school district as a piece of the puzzle that strengthens the mission. And it was very encouraging to me to get that call and for him to take us forward in that venue. So we look forward to hearing back on that. Last but not least, I want to again say thank you to Ms. Brandt for the rollout of our new website. And currently we have our mobile app that is just about ready to launch. I believe it had a few tweaks to get done. So thank you for that. And we look forward to getting that out.
And as just a side note on the website, if any board members have not filled out their profile or whatever, if you could please get that done. I've had a couple people come and talk to me about it, but if you get the time, go ahead and get that done so that everybody knows everybody's preferences and thoughts.
So I'm going to jump to that real quick. Thank you for bringing that up. So if you jump to our website, district information, Board of Education, and go over to our board members, and then each of you has your own page where you can come in and tell us about you, best things about Knob Schools, what's most rewarding and critical issues. And that's your page. If there's content you wish to add there, that's definitely something you can do. So let me know if I can assist, and I know Ms. Grant is ready to assist as well if needed. Moving along, we have our enrollment and attendance numbers. John Musker Elementary School, 376 with a 95.30 attendance percentage. John Musker Middle School, 481 with 95.27%. John Musker High School, 355, 96.50. Whiteman Elementary, 334 with 94.52. And the district total, 1546, 95.40. So it looks like Mount Musker High School came away with the top attendance for December. The financial reports for month ending, all balances, $11,452,723. Revenues today, $8,232,408, which is 45.5% of anticipated. And expenditures, $6,797,221, which is 40.8% budgeted. And that concludes my report.
I'd like to add one thing. I'd like to recognize our wrestlers. They've been doing phenomenal this year at the Missouri Valley Conference. I think it was, I don't know how many teams participated, but 16. And Mount Musker walked away with the first place win. And that's awesome when you compare them to schools that they were wrestling against, like Odessa. I think Harrisonville was there, and we took the first. So that's a great big, thank you to our wrestlers and our coaches. That's an awesome job.
That's a good point, and we're definitely excited for them. If I recall, they won the Ray Stockdale Invitational, they won the Butler Tournament, and they won the MRBC. And we have, we're tracking maybe 8 students that may end up at state.
Well, I guess they were probably one of the smallest schools out of this entire wrestling meet that they went to, according to Steve Elwell, and they walked away with the first place. That's great.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing.
All right, thank you, Dr. Wheeler. Next, we have KNET presentation.
We have Mr. Basinger here. I don't know if you were planning on speaking tonight, but
we were going to recognize middle school staff, but middle school would like to be recognized. They want to highlight.
thank you for being here tonight.
Okay.
Need approval of the consent agenda.
Make a motion.
All in favor? Aye. Under new business, we have approval of bills, full board. All in favor? Aye.
There were no bills this month requiring abstentions.
This is new business, and it is just for information only, board candidate community forum.
So for the last couple of years, district administration and representatives from the Non-Musker Association of Teachers have co-hosted a board candidate forum, and that has gone, as far as we can tell, pretty well, and been a good opportunity for our community to get in and hear from our candidates. We're proposing that we do that again this year with the same format. We have basically included the script that we'll be following, including the questions. These will be sent out to all candidates as well, and also kind of the invitation for patrons that attend that forum to provide their questions. And we kind of moderate that and try to squeeze in as much as we can. I am proposing March 12th and 13th as the potential dates for that. Just wanted to check with the board to see if that works. I think that's on Monday, Tuesday. That's the week of our March board meeting, I believe. Oh, no, it isn't. It's the week before our March board meeting.
But it's Monday, Tuesday.
Yes.
Good. Days.
Okay.
Monday.
So I'll check with the slate of candidates and shoot for that Monday, and if that doesn't work, we may look for a different date. That's somewhere in that neighborhood, right before spring break. Once we come back, it's right into the election time.
Does anybody else on the board have an issue with the Monday? I mean, if you want to attend. Okay. Okay. This again is for discussion and information, Missouri Military Appreciation Day.
So last year, we were able to join base leadership and attend. We did actually spoke in the Capitol last year on our National Math and Science Initiative program about our advanced placement courses to now master. We don't yet have the agenda. This is basically, I'm guessing it will mimic what was done last year, but this is kind of the format. Last year we had representatives from Whiteman and Fort Leonard Wood there. So we're waiting. We know that there was a hold date for February 14th. So if anyone would like to attend with us, we can certainly carpool over and go and show our support. Just let us know and we'll make that arrangement. Next up, we have the 18-19 calendar. We plan to have that on the agenda for next year. And I know we have had a comment regarding Veterans Day being out. If you're going to be out of school for students, we want to have that out for everyone. In the past, we've used that as an ED day. We typically put all of those decisions to the vote of the teachers and employees. So, but I knew that had been brought up. So, any feelings on that? Anybody? Okay. Are you guys good with kind of leaving that at the vote of the team, or does anybody have a strong position on that? I'd have to look back and see. I think it was I'd have to check the numbers as well in the survey. The thing we ran into, we're getting tight with the calendar this year. We have President's Day, I think the Monday after Easter, and then that Friday before Memorial Day has 3 kind of built-in makeup days, and we tried to extend the summer break one more weekend. So we ran, the last couple of years, we've run our new teacher, new employee days that Thursday, Friday, and then the full staff comes back that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before kids come back. So we get tight on those days. The Veterans Day, I know we're going to carefully consider. And then the other issue this year that you guys will hear about is most likely a recommendation to convert one of our student days to a professional development day. We have several new mandated trainings that are going to require additional time, and the option would be to transfer one of those student days into a work day or pay for those trainings in some other way outside the contract. So that's something we're going to vet out with the board, or with the faculty, and then work through the panel committee and bring that recommendation forward.
So as it stands, we had a cold weather day yesterday, so we reviewed attending school and pretty much day this year.
Yes, sir. Yeah, President's Day this year, we have Second day is that Friday before Memorial Day, and then the third makeup day is the Monday after Easter. And then the rest come after Memorial Day. Okay.
Any more questions?
The calendar is only for information purposes.
That's that's this year's calendar, so you're, in case you want to look it over.
Interstate Compact Agreement, this is for informational purposes only.
Like last year, I wanted to bring this in front of the board just for annual review. The Interstate Compact on Educational Opportunity for Military Children is the multi-state agreement that focuses on trying to ease some of the challenges and alleviate some of the burdens faced by military children as their families transition in PCS. So I think it's good for us to be aware. We did do a meeting back in December with Commissioner Van Dieven and Brian Henry, superintendent down at Waynesville, myself, and a couple others. And we're basically taking the next step in our state to strengthen our local commission in Missouri. Dr. Henry is the head, kind of spearheading that group, but we're definitely trying to move in the right direction. Joe Driscoll is hand in hand with us on that as well. So review that. If you have any questions or want to discuss, just let me know.
Diane, do you have a part of this too in this? Okay. Thank you. Next up is food service program update, and this is for discussion and informational purposes only.
We went ahead at the end of December, kind of at a mid-year point, and pulled some numbers just for awareness and input and or discussion from the board. A lot of this you've seen already, so I'm going to kind of work through. Again, the purpose of this report is to provide a mid-year overview of the program compared to last year's estimates and this year's budget. We're really only looking at financial considerations in this report. I went ahead and just copied slides from what we looked at a year ago when the board was making their decision. We have this in-house operation snapshot on financials. We also had, this was the lowest responsible bidder was SFE. And then we had this slide, which showed the total estimated expenditures as well as the estimated revenue. So those are all copies and have not been adjusted. This is a 5-year comparison on what we believe to be our expenditures and deficits. A couple of assumptions in this report on the new information is comparisons are based on numbers through December 31st. It represents approximately 50% of the regular term. Food services staff salaries and benefits are annualized over the course of the 12 months. The financials also include a carryover cost of about $46,000 from OPA during their summer school operations in 2017. That did include food and salaries. For FY18, summer food costs will carry over into the FY19 school year, as will a portion of that labor cost. So I'm fully as a wash in terms of the impact on this fiscal year. I do want to note that in talking with Ms. Sater, some of the inflated food supplies costs were associated with startups with some of the required spices and other things that they had to acquire to get this year kicked off. Financial snapshot. We have our budgeted salaries, benefits, repairs, supplies. We did kind of highlight this line item for OPA, other supplies and equipment. What I did to try to compensate this into our budget was to split that evenly between salaries and supplies. So it was a rough estimate to try to try to calculate that into our percent spent and our percent target spent to date. So it appears we're tracking pretty decently. We're a little under budget in the benefits, doing decent in repairs. Supplies are higher than anticipated. And we are definitely looking at options with Springfield Grocer on what we might be able to do to cut that cost next year. One of the options we're looking at is a group bid with Sedalia and Warrensburg to try to drive down the food costs through quantity of scale. The SOPA supplies, that's the actuals. Other supplies, we've exceeded target on that as far as halfway through the year. Equipment is the same. I know we had a warmer go down today, and we were able to pull that equipment from the building to try to reserve that expenditure. In total, we're halfway through the year, about halfway through the budget. So, summer school 17 represents about 6% of the total budget. Again, this cost has been split evenly into year-to-date expenditures for labor and supplies. It was, and well, we did a different program this year, and we did. Right now, that's our saving grace in terms of our revenues. So we will definitely run that same program again, and hopefully have the same type of results, because it was definitely a money mover for us. Thank you, Mr. Corwin, for helping line that up, as well as Ms. Frieden. I left this slide, again, consistent with my estimates from last year. I did go ahead and update our actuals from the last time you saw the slide. I don't believe I had the actuals for 16, 17 in, so I've added those. Revenues wise, Billy, I want to point out summer school program. Again, that was plugged in as actual, but we're seeing nearly $55,000 in revenues from 19 days of summer school. So, Mr. Corwin was entering the slam dunk contest. He would definitely walk away with the trophy on that program. So again, thank you for lining that up. Breakfasts, you can definitely see that we are below where we would like to be with our revenues. A lot of that is attributed to the high school. We're also seeing more participation at Whiteman School Lunch. Kind of the same story there. We're seeing lower percentages at the high school. So it appears our revenues may be lower than what was anticipated.
So one of the questions that I had is, I know at certain times we come back and we revisit these and see if this is something that we want to do for next year or whatever. Is there a way that we can have Ms. Sager come in and maybe before then give us a plan on how she can, what her thoughts on or how to increase the high school participation? Because that to me, when I was looking at those numbers, is the biggest decrease that we have. So is there a plan? Does she have a plan? Or could she present something to the board about how she's going to try and increase those numbers for us?
She definitely can. And again, we're talking about options. We've talked regularly about different ideas. Our high school is definitely a problem spot. So we're looking at that. I will ask her to formalize a presentation to the board. And the other part is, I think the big piece is looking at our staffing, looking at our the way we buy food and looking for options there as we're doing as well. But we'll get that in and probably try to do that by March.
Thank you. Questions on
But,
that?
no, that makes sense. I do want to note in these revenues, as we compare it to last year, we are up in our non-program. So,
Which consists
which
of,
consists of a la carte and adult meals. So, I'm sorry, just a la carte. Adult meals is up slightly, so it's pretty consistent. But we're seeing more a la carte, and that's happening in the high school pretty heavily, so I think that's impacting our total trades as well. Again, revenues, we can kind of see the updated information from where we landed last year. We're just over 600,000. So we'll see where we come in. Anticipation overview.
I guess one of the questions I have is when we talk about the 200,000 that was spent for the 2017-18 school year for the lunch program. I know that in the first half of this fiscal year for 2017, we had some considerable cost as far as refrigeration equipment and other equipment goes that are added to this. Say, for instance, the need to basically totally rebuild the walk-in freezer up there by the bus complex. You know, that are all those costs added to the actual expenditures for the program for this year?
They are, and those are going to be added into,
Well, I guess
I believe that's right here in this equipment.
for $7,000. Well, what about the other equipment, coolers and stuff, and milk coolers and other?
Well, that's our equipment out there.
And one of the other things I know that we're coding the equipment towards the lunch program itself, but if particular equipment goes bad, say a rooftop unit for the wrestling room or the weight room, we don't take that out of the sports program. See what I'm saying there?
I do.
So it's kind of hard to distinguish where that money should actually come from based on, if you're gonna say, okay, the weight room heating and cooling system went bad, but we're not gonna charge that against the sports program, it goes towards the facilities maintenance side in general.
I do. And I tried to, in this historical expenditures report, separate out salaries, benefits, purchase services, supplies, and capital, and all of that equipment would fall, for food service, would fall into this.
Yeah.
And so we look back at 15-16, we had that $18,000 in capital outlay for equipment that year. You look back, we had 21,014. That was pretty high as far as trend data goes. And that's for 15-16. When you roll down to the difference in that 15-16 school year, that equipment alone accounted for about half of the deficit spending here. So that's something that we keep in mind. And like I said, another piece went out today, and we're going to try to keep that separated out by equipment.
And overall, when we talk about equipment, the lunch program has an extensive amount of expensive equipment in it. Unlike, other areas. I mean, that's some of the more expensive equipment that we have probably in the district. That's besides, refrigeration and heating and cooling. And it doesn't matter if we have a contract or not, we're forced to own that equipment and maintain it.
Copy that. Guys, I apologize, I thought I had the trade count updated in here, so I'm gonna have to look back and find out what happened. That's our month to month, but I have these completed as well. Generally speaking, what I can tell you is, again, our high school is our concern area in terms of education. We're serving not many breakfasts and, about 10 to 20 lunches on average, less per day. And part of that, again, is due to the change in scheduling at the high school. That's something we've discussed at length, and we're looking into options to offset that. On the prior slides on the total trade count, I'll look back and get that information to you. But this is the month-to-month average trades.
At the high school, do we have any idea at all why there's
Scheduling is part of it.
what has changed from last year?
We changed the way we do our lunch break and went from 3 shifts to 2 and allowed some academic intervention and support time during the lunchtime. It's a model that a lot of school districts have adopted to try to flex that time a little bit differently and get some time with teachers and students. But I think that has lent itself to the lunchroom not being the social gathering spot per se as what it maybe was or is in some cases. So that's certainly something we're looking at. The one that surprises me, honestly, is that drop in breakfast. That's one that we've got to figure out what's going on there.
Do you think our free and reduced is suffering also because of that?
I have my thoughts on that. I'll need to pull numbers to verify.
How many
My initial, I'll have to pull numbers to look.
many people are employed in the kitchen at the high school?
3 in each building.
So there's 3 there from breakfast through lunch.
Correct.
What is the most, I imagine lunch is probably the most biggest cost, is that correct?
In terms of
Food.
food, yes, sir.
I know we talked a while back about that co-op program. I'm glad to see that you're taking a step to making that possibility. Orangeburg and Sedalia. Maybe Lamont and Dresden could be included in that too. But I think that would probably reduce the food costs tremendously. Everybody could get on board with that. I know that's kind of a pie in the sky type thing, but
It'll be interesting to see because all 3 are with Springfield Grocery already. The truck's already running this route. So I think it'll be healthy competition possibly that may drive those costs down more than anything.
now, what about the government subsidies, which is
Commodities.
commodities? What about that? I see no mention of that anywhere. Last year it was $5,000 a month, roughly, that was supposedly credited back. And I know when I first requested the reports on that, it wasn't included, and then all of a sudden we started including it because it was going directly to OPA, and they were supposed to credit us back that $5,000 some odd dollars. And I see no mention of it here once again, whether it's being deducted from the total amount that you're saying we're overrunning. Also on the, if the à la carte is the way they want to eat at the high school, why can't we expand the à la carte and reduce the size of the regular lunch program? I don't know. There's got to be a way to cut costs without hurting anybody or anything and giving them what they want.
All of those are things that we've been discussing, and as an admin team, the commodities are going to build back. I'm pretty certain that those build back the same way now with Springfield Grocer. I've requested a meeting with Springfield Grocer to discuss some of the conversation pieces that we had to discuss with them, commodities and billing being among those.
Now, they're not the only supplier in the world. Are we relying just on Springfield Grocery, or are we
Right now,
bonding them against each other?
right now we use multiple vendors. We did not exercise the prime vendor process last year. Certainly, if we do go out for bid with a co-op type of approach, we would expect to receive bids from U.S. Foods, Springfield Grocer, Gates, probably whatever those other trucks that run from Chicago.
John Gray, ones that run from Chicago to Age.
We would have been hungry this week.
Yeah, real hungry.
I guess one of my concerns is when you talk about the overall food cost. Okay, and there's DESI standards that tell us what portion control is supposed to be put on the plate. Every time I ate in the schools, when OPA had the contract, I felt like portion control was not, the DESI follow portions were not there, as opposed to maybe what we're serving. Maybe we got kids not going hungry because they're getting enough food. I mean, because having eaten at the high school and looking at the portion control and stuff on, and then seeing the pictures on Facebook where there's 4 nacho chips, well, we know that the contractor was not, putting a full plate of food out there for these kids. So you see what I'm saying? It's going to cost you a lot less money if you're a contractor and you're feeding the bare minimum, or maybe even less than that, as opposed to following the DESI standards under the non-master school lunch program, putting what they're supposed to have on their plate. And believe you me, I pay attention to it. I've seen everything from having no forks at the high school to pictures on Facebook to then some. So,
Well, I've enjoyed our time together discussing this over the last 2 years, but I don't know if we need to rehash anything. I was just wanting to give an update on financials and let you know that this is something that we talk about, frankly, every week in our admin meeting to some extent, and then we have conversations with our food service director. So our commitment remains the same. When the board voted to bring this in-house, we want to try to keep the participation as high as possible and keep our expenses as reasonable as possible. And frankly, the message here is it looks like we're tracking where we anticipated on expenditures. We're slightly below where we anticipated on revenues, and we're discussing options on how to get that in balance to the extent that we can.
And I think that was something that we all discussed before we made the vote for that
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, my intent here is no more than your
Here we go.
check-in.
thank you for that update.
Yes, sir.
You did a great job.
I wanted to thank you for that too. I appreciate that. And it's nice to see all of the data and things that back up what you're trying to do. All the things that you've mentioned tonight are reassuring. Even though that might have been not the most manageable decision that was made, you're embracing that and thinking forward. And working the program for success of the kids.
Well, thank you.
It's great.
This is our transition year, so I'm very interested to see how things sort. And then us to keep that deficit spend as minimal as possible. So we're looking at options on what we can do next year. Frankly, that low-hanging fruit is high school participation. If we can't turn that around in this half of the year, then there's going to be some implications on next year's financial plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Moore. Next up is salary and internal equity study.
Again, this is discussion information only. I know the board, we talked over the last year about a salary study. I did reach out to a company who is well known in the area for conducting these types of studies, and have included some information on their proposal, Educational Management Solutions. If you did take the time to read through here, there, print that. Oh, you can get it? Yes, I can. You know what? I could not, I don't know that I could print that. I tried to print it as a PDF. So your link wouldn't open at all? Okay.
So when you said you reached out to this educational management solution.
I can print a hard copy real quick.
You provide a brief overview of that work on later.
Well,
Like number of positions, what they're going to look at.
so what, I'm gonna kind of narrate, I probably spent between 90 minutes and 2 hours kind of listening to the proposal, and their approach is focusing on internal equity more so than external equity. And essentially what they said was people within an organization aren't so much worried about what the person in the next district is making. They're typically more concerned about what the person sitting in the chair next to them is making and how that compares in terms of their workload, which that's relaying kind of their position. So the bulk of their man hours would be focused on coming in, having qualitative discussions with all of our faculty, essentially going through and redefining, perfecting job descriptions, and comparing internally how that workload qualifications compare to the next person. And from there, once they have internal equity established, they will pick, I want to say 6 to 8 key positions, and they would go out, identify a cohort of competitor districts, and see how we compare to essentially the average. So I was encouraged outside the organization in terms of the approach that they would take on the target that they would set. They said once you compare to average, then the board can say if we want to compare to a different target, we can do that. So I think we've done a pretty good job externally. I know we have work to do internally, which we discussed and we need to accomplish. The kicker on this is the price tag was very hefty, about $35,000, which to me is going to be essentially them facilitating us doing the internal equity audit ourselves. So I'm trying to consider different ways to accomplish that goal. That being said, I've also reached out to, at the end of this conversation, I said, who are your competitors that you usually bid against? And they shared the other local competitor. And I reached out to them and had a conference call set. I don't know where that will come in, hopefully significantly less than that amount, but that seems like a very steep cost to me. But after they explained the process and the amount of man hours, I can understand why they would set the target there.
But when we talked last year, I don't know that that is really, definitely wasn't my intent. My intent was to see externally what you see as a first year, second year experience, differentiate the experiences based on what we're seeing, because we're glossing over a lot of details. We might have a first year principal that's getting paid the average of 16, 18 different schools that might range from 1 to 20 years experience. And so we're leaving out a big component and basically I won't say overpaying because that's not, but overpaying to average. The average is way too generalized.
Right.
That is what I'd like to see. I don't think that we have, just because we have a pay scale for the teachers that is very structured and very open, I don't know what you have to have been paid inequity on a pay scale like that. Because it's very, unless you compare job duties and things like that, which that's not what that pay scale is based on. So you're comparing apples to apples, and it depends on the mood of your interviewees. But I would say, and that's not what we're trying to measure.
And I relayed that to this group and said, this is really what we're looking for. And they said, we typically won't do that without the internal. And I followed up with some discussion about, why and what we're after, and they said they would do it.
Because to me, we're looking at like the admin group and maybe the teachers on the top, with those different qualifications, experience levels, or schooling is how we have that broken out. That's more what we're looking for, not.
Well, I discussed that with them too, and from my experience in research and what they basically told me is, when it comes to specialized individual positions, whether they're directors, admin, what have you, which is really essentially what we're after here, they said they would go out, maybe again take 6, 8 of those positions and do the measurement. But they don't come back with they simply will come back with a range. That for this position you have a high range and a low range is what they said they would come back with, which is of no value to.
Which is what we
Based
have.
on experience, or is there any other differentiation besides position?
I don't think so. Not based on what they do, because, and again, this is what they shared with me, so I'm going to fill in the blanks, but I think they're going to go back and, if you run, the reason districts do that is so that they can have discretion within, here's the lowest, here's the highest, we're going to find whatever, the flexibility within that range to retain or place those key people. But if you run out years in the district, years of experience, years of admin experience, degree, six factors across 12 positions, I'm sure there's an algorithm that you can do that would give you some type of validity, but they're not going to do it. And next year, hey, the superintendent got a $12,000 raise because he was looking to go to wherever, or the principal, or so maybe they picked up, duties as a grants manager or as a compliance officer. So I think we could I think we could probably get there, but I do think it's gonna take, I mean, we can get that information, but by the time you factor it out, I don't know how reliable or dependable it's gonna be for informing decisions. And I think that's why, two things, I think that's why they take that approach, because it's easy and flexible. And the other thing, I think that's the reason why most districts don't incorporate a hard salary schedule for administration and directors, so that they can have that flexibility.
Well, I don't, maybe it's just me, but I don't think that $35,000 is money well spent. Not even $20,000 is money well spent. You know, to provide this information to us, we basically figure that out. I understand what Larry's saying when he talks about a building principal with 1 year's experience versus 20 years experience being hired in at the same salary. You know, that's crazy. I mean, because basically what you've got is somebody that may have been a counselor the year before at, you know, 59,000 going to 86,000 because they got a job as principal. You know, and that's where I have the issue. It's not based on overall experience. You're new to that position, so you should be compensated for being new to that position. You know, I know sometimes I feel like you just throw that money out there, and I don't know if that's good or bad.
We could definitely set ranges and try to factor in some of the pieces, or at least list those to inform board decision on that and recommendation.
Now, does MSBA, they just released their teacher salary comparison catalog. Do they do that for the superintendents also and principals, or is that just mainly for the teachers?
I would have to look. I know the MSTA annual salary and compensation book is.
That's what I'm sorry, I said MSBA, it's MST.
I think it has admin in there as a range.
Yeah, because I started going through it and I didn't make it all the way through it, so. But it's, some of the information in there is a little tricky too. You gotta watch on how many month employee they are and so forth, because as it sets right now, it looks like Sedalia pays more than Knobloch, but they don't. Because of the months of employment they have, that we have.
For teachers?
Yes, yes. It looks like the teachers there make more, but they don't.
I think we have highly valid and reliable data in terms of our teacher comparison. Because it's cut and dry. I mean, that's
More standardized.
more standardized.
But I just didn't know if in that, because it's from MSDA, if they compared like I said, I didn't get through the whole thing, so I don't know if they compared the principals and superintendents and so forth, or if there's a separate little lag out there somewhere that somebody's put together that have those comparisons already. But once again, it goes back to, it's not going to be based on years of employment and experience and degrees and blah, blah, blah.
Well,
I think at this point, I think what Dr. Wheeler's asking is if we want him to continue to look at some of these other second-party places to see if that he can get this study done, or are we going to go and continue to use what he has presented to us, adjusting the numbers for us to make our decision when it comes time for people's raises.
I definitely, I mean, I have meetings set with the other competitor, and I'm pretty anxious to hear that and report back if it's anything significantly different. And then the other, I'll try to see if I can get one of their work products they shared some of their references, so I'll see if I can get some of their work products that we can share and look at and see if that's where we want to go.
But it doesn't really sound like this study is,
What we're looking for
yeah, it doesn't sound like anything because,
from this company.
right, this one here doesn't have anything even close to what, you know, I mean, and it was just I think it was a request that we thought we were looking at was the comparisons of, once again, we did the cohort study, which I asked you for, I think, 2 years ago, which we were looking at ranges and so forth. But if, once again, if the guy in Carrollton's making 160,000 a year, why is he making 160,000 a year other than their tax revenues are higher? You know, there's industry there and blah, blah, blah. But, that's not where we're looking at it, right, as far as the principles.
So I'll print out a copy and then scan it, so it'll be a PDF. I guess I could have done that before. I thought this would open for you. But I'll get this back into your hands so you can look through and see the scope. And then what I'll do is move forward and see if there's something that
I want to say one more thing this year. Okay, I want to back up here real quick because I gave this some more thought. But you know what? You can go out there and you can find administrators or superintendents with 1 year's experience or 20 years. You know, the person that's got 20 years may have went from job to job to job and may not have a good fit anywhere. I'd like to think that for what we're spending on our administrators and our building principals and the other folks, we've got some awesome rock star people working in this district. And as far as I'm concerned, they're worth every penny we're given. We're paying them. You know, but like I said, they may not have the experience that a 20-year person does, but that doesn't mean that they are probably not doing as good a job, if not possibly a whole lot better than somebody that's been around the block, moved from district to district, that isn't working out for anybody. So, and you know what I'm saying, Larry?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that comment. What I'd like to see though is, as we're going forward and over the course of the last year or two, you've had an upward trend on expenditures. I don't know, I'd like to get feedback on how you feel about that during the budget process and if that is sustainable. And so we have made a lot of equity adjustments, what I would call over the last 2 years. And now they need to be more fine-tuned type adjustments if necessary. And so with the data that we've been using, I don't see that we have the tools in front of us to be able to do that. Because it's just the wrong set of numbers. There's not enough granularity to that to be able to make those kind of decisions. Because, again, big picture, big budget, just trying to get a handle on that and make sure we're making the right decisions and we are sustainable. That's kind of the background of why.
Well, I think a lot of the trend from last year to the year before on the upward trend of the budget was due to the fact that we lost a lot of programs and brought those programs either back or started programs that we didn't have. And that's why you saw that big upswing. But I agree with you wholeheartedly that needs to be, you know, fine-tuned for the fact that, you know, where are we actually, when are we going to slow down with it and to reel some of these things in. I hate to see programs cut for any reason. So if we do have to cut, it would be on, we do have to cut a program, it would have to be a program that's not very sustainable.
So,
itself.
So-
Or not performing. Right.
Well,
so
I'm just glad that Dr. Wheeler's brought this to our attention. And this is something we've revisited in the past. And I'm glad you brought it to our attention to tell us the overall cost of something like this, because I would like to see the board vote on this before we arbitrarily spend any money. If, when it comes to that much.
Right.
I mean,
So
I think
bring
it's-
back
I think
to
it
us
should-
your recommendations.
Will do. So I'll get a printout of this just so that you guys are sure to be able to look through. I'll report back on what I hear from the next company. And then just to kind of wrap a ribbon on this discussion, it's timely. The board is aware of what the governor has attempted to do to kind of attack superintendents and administrators on their salary, and made the blanket statement that, teachers should be paid on average 10,000 more, which I totally agree that they should, and that would be fantastic, but there's going to have to be more than lip service on that. But so the way we go about making these decisions is going to be important right now as it's being attacked, but the right or wrong, the validity of the numbers we used aside, which again, I think there's a level of validity and reliability to those. One thing that I can say is it's been, in my opinion, 100% transparent. This is information that the board has seen, and it's been documented in board docs for the last 2 years, and it's run on averages for our teachers and our administrators. And that goal that was set by the board to get our administrators to the average of that cohort has been accomplished in almost every area. And the intent there was to try to further stabilize the district and allow us to retain our leadership, stop the turnover, and then also position our district to be able to hire locally, instead of serving as a training ground for people to jump into admin and move on. We'd like to change that paradigm to where people are seeking non-administrative destinations. So I think the board, I know the board is taking significant steps to do that, and that's to be commended. And again, teachers have asked about some of this information, and I try to continue to point them back to board docs so that they can see how that has been communicated and how those decisions have been made. So we'll continue to do that, and I'll see if I can also pull some different information. Maybe we can, in fact, come up with some factors on how we can get a better, more reliable position on some of these things. That, I know other districts would probably be interested in that too, so maybe. So that's all I have on that one.
Thank you, Dr. Wheeler, and it's a lot of work, so keep plugging it in.
Thanks.
No problem. Next up is CSIP renewal. This is discussion and information purposes only.
We spent some time in the last month or so with our cabinet, Mr. Quorum, Dr. Ross, and myself on our approach for revamping our CSIP. We are proposing that we try to facilitate and guide that process in-house. We do have multiple outsourced options, but most of those are going to be reasonably costly. So we're proposing that we, again, facilitate this in-house to include the following plan of action, starting with the cabinet planning meeting, followed by administrative discussion, which will roll into faculty and community survey for baseline performance and priorities. That survey would essentially be used to guide the CSIP and guide the development of a balanced scorecard. In February, we would do a first collaboration with faculty and staff leadership team. March, an initial draft and guiding documents developed. Later in March, first community forum for review and input on the survey results and the guiding documents. We would then roll into development of mission, vision, values, and goals. In a second community forum, in April, we hosted a third community forum with instructional and operational objectives with subgroups. In May, we would try to finalize our instructional and operational objectives and performance targets with the goal to have an initial draft to the board in June, with a revised draft in July, and be ready to roll that out to publicize to the community, final draft in July, and the first extensive review with staff at our back to school meeting in August. And then we would run an annual review of that CSIP every January. It's a pretty speedy timeline, but I think if we get off to a quality start, it's something that we can accomplish. I've taken quite a bit of time over the last month to look at multiple other districts across the state that are revered as penalty leaders. I've also jumped over to a couple of the districts across the state line in Kansas, and feel like it's the flavor of the district on what their CSIP looks like, but we want to take a reasonable approach that's going to make sense for our community and for our staff, but also provide the measurable performance targets that I believe the board is seeking in that CSIP. Let me rephrase that all of us are seeking in that CSIP. But I wanted to open that up for discussion with the board before we kick that off. If the board feels as though we need to do an outside facilitator on this process.
Well, I know I've been on the last 3 years for the CSIP. I would like to be on it again if there's an opportunity for me to be on there. But personally, being on there, I liked the involvement of the people that were actually been impacted, the community, the teachers, the shareholders, the kids. So my personal opinion would be not to have an outside facilitator, but that's just me. The fact that you've looked at this and you want to pare it down, if I'm understanding correctly.
They'll be extensively paired up from what we have now, but it's
More meaningful, or?
yes, all of the above.
Okay.
But we absolutely want to have broad input internally and externally on setting our goals for where we're heading.
And that is my opinion on it.
Do you have the resources? Because it seems like you're busy already, and it seems like a very monumental task. And I'm not advocating either way. I mean, either way, I understand it's going to consume time. It's how much time, whether you're preparing for that or not. So
it's definitely going to be a lift from the team. The external facilitator is going to facilitate, but I think at the end of the day, a lot of the lifting is going to be our admin team working with our teachers and our community to get it done. So we discussed it. I think we have a pretty clear direction of the path, and it's just one of the reasons I put this out here is to hold myself to it, and the rest of our team, and hopefully we can carry that out. I don't think, in my opinion, as a superintendent, as an organization, I don't think that we're anywhere in the ballpark of talking total volume management or Baldrige type approach. I just don't think I don't think that's realistic for us at this time. If we carry out this plan 5 years from now or 4 years from now, that might be something that we can do, but this is going to be more of a more reasonable approach to strategic improvement. But if that's what the board's expecting, definitely not where we're going.
I have no expectation. This was an independent process. Do you feel like there's anything else that's going to suffer because of the time that you're having to go through this?
It's one of my goals. I'm going to get it done, sir.
I want to give you time to think about it.
We'll jump into it next month and report back, but I feel pretty confident that we can get it done, and hopefully we can get good communication and buy-in from our community and get good representation there.
Well, I think the key to that is early and often communication and how you communicate, because that whole communication plan, because there's a lot of stakeholders out there that don't send a kid to school to have inputs and they have the best interest, it's just on the front side. So,
Like, it's grandkids or grandparents, or it's that parent who's different.
Yeah.
Just because you don't have kids in our school, it doesn't mean you don't have to. Right.
We're going to give it a whirl, and 6 months from now, if it's not where we're comfortable with it, then we always can exercise that to invest in additional funds. Problem being, if we get there and we've got input from the community, then we've got something we can do. But I feel pretty comfortable with our ability and carry it out.
Okay, thank you. Next up is first annual Mount State of the Community event for discussion information purposes only.
So this is an event that I've organized in the past and want to go ahead and initiate here at Knob-Noster, which is hopefully going to be the first of an annual event to bring all the agencies of our community together to provide kind of an overview of all that is Knob-Noster and current events. Proposed, I have run this by Mayor Morton, and he's completely on board. But we're hoping to bring together our school district, the city of Knob-Noster, our Knob-Noster Revitalization Commission, Area Business Council, Whiteman Air Force Base representation, Johnson County Economic Development Corporation, and legislators. I'm not holding my breath on that because they're in session, but this is the group we want to bring together to do a 90 to 120 minute overview of our community. And we were looking at February 22nd as a possible date to do that. This is initial out of the gate. We do have, I think, a second round of district basketball that night. So there's a potential that we could have a conflict and it could move that. There's also an opportunity that we may not have a conflict.
You're going to use this as a venue for as far as the school, for the facility improvement program or plan?
Facilities, no.
Okay.
I think we're leaving that on the, where it is for now until we get our CSIP out of the way, but absolutely this is one opportunity where we will extend an invite to our community to come and engage in that process, and we'll be able to do a handout there. We're not tied to that date. We could also look for different options as well, but that was one that we had cleared. I believe that's the week of January. I think that's the week of our board meeting will be the 21st. I think the city meeting is on the 20th, and then we're shooting for that 22nd. Any conflicts from the board? If we can get that done.
Just let me know.
Venues we're talking about, we have checked reservations at all the local venues, and we found that the middle school cafeteria is available, as is we believe the upstairs above the Snob's Coffee Shop. One of the concerns there is ADA accessibility, so.
City Hall, basement of the new city.
I don't think there's gonna be enough room there to get the participation that we're after.
Let me know if I need to bake some cookies.
Yes, sir.
Don't do that. Okay, thank you. Under old business, 2017-18 budget amendment. This is a second reading for information purposes only.
So in addition to information provided in the past, I went ahead and provided the budget amendments in Excel with the detail out to the side. Ms. Huntsman and I worked through our budget on the total expenditures, and they have increased in a number of areas. A portion of that, a reasonable portion of that would be in our special services department, as well as our new military child academic support grant. We did run through on our last calculation, and we're within about $14,000 of where we ended on our actuals for last year. So it looks as though we're going to be tracking about where we were last year. There are a couple of reasons for that. The board's aware of that make-up summer school payment that we did last year that was pretty hefty. And that was basically the saving grace on some of the additional expenditures with the grant and some of our other staffing. So we're at about $16,660,000 is where we're tracking, and we believe we're on track in most areas unless we have something that's unexpected. We're looking, one of the things we did today, we pulled a 4-year, actually a 3-year, and then did some copying and pasting to try to find comparative numbers by program. We're trying to look for something that's more meaningful to the board, that's more intuitive, that makes sense. And that's a report that we are going to look through over the month and then provide out for the board to consider. We're somewhat anxious about next year's budget cycle, just because we're finding the inconsistencies with information from the state regarding the complete revamp of our coding system. So we're trying to crosswalk some of that this year to try to get a jump start on that. But we definitely feel like our historical data from the last couple of years as well as this year is going to be very important as we migrate through those changes. We ran those 3 reports, and what we have to actually do in the system is go back through and insert and go through, compare, find what's missing in each line item, and then work backwards to try to get that report reflective of actuals. So we anticipate that's what the budgeting process is going to look like as we get ready for next year, and then hopefully there won't be any more changes. We were hoping that's what this year would be, but that's not the case. As mentioned prior, we're also looking at opportunities to decrease expenditures, and I agree with Mr. Pandilli that we don't, we're in the business of establishing and strengthening programs to make non-Mount a destination of choice for students. But there's also, the board has heard me say this many times, selective abandonment of programs that are not performing. And I think that's something that we need to consider. And although those are never popular decisions, it's something that as leadership and governance team we have to consider.
I just want to say thank you for all the hard work already that you've done, going in and recoding and the hard work that I know you're going to have to do to get that done. I know what you're trying.
I'd like to piggyback on something that Dr. Weir said. And you know, it's nice to keep all these programs, but moving into the future, we're looking at new programs like robotics and other programs that are going to carry us into the 21st century. And we're still carrying the old programs, which are quite a few programs in the district that continue to add to the overall expense of the district and the budget. At some point, it seems like you have to get rid of some of the old and outdated or antiquated programs that you no longer, that may no longer be useful, and because you're spending money on it, it's very tough to decide on, you know, if those are programs that you need to get rid of, and the reasons why you should get rid of them. You know, so it's not an easy job to decide on what should stay and what should go somewhere.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Wheeler. You are on.
Make a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to RSO 610, 021, 3, 15. Second. Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for coming and hanging out with us, and we will be in there at 5 minutes till. Thank you.